Well, big farms aren't necessarily corporate farms. In fact, the vast majority, 96% or so, are farms in the U.S. that are family farms.
Nebraska is home to several of those. We're so proud of our farmers here. Our next guest grew up on a farm and runs a family farm along with her husband today.
Yeah, Leslie Boswell is from Shickley, Nebraska. Good morning, Leslie.
Nice
How are
to have
you
you here.
Good morning.
Well, tell us about this program, because you're part of this program called Common Ground. You guys do a lot of things, but talk about the main mission and the goal.
It's a wonderful program. I'm so proud to be a part of it. It's a group of volunteer farm women who are reaching out to consumers to try to explain how we raise our crops, how we treat our animals, the humane way that we treat everything with the respect for the farm, and trying to dispel any myths that they have about the food that they are buying in the grocery stores.
What do you hear from consumers? What are some of their concerns? Probably you think, oh boy, we've got some educating to do here.
We really do. There is such a disconnect between urban areas and the farm. A lot of the people that I've talked to say that they had grandparents that lived on the farm, but they haven't been back in years, or they've never had any connection with the farm. Questions that we hear are, how do we raise our crops? Are we using GMOs? Are we treating our animals humanely? Do we use confinement? Do we use hormones, or do we use antibiotics? And the easiest way to explain the antibiotics is that we vaccinate our children and we treat them when they're sick. We do the same thing with our animals.
You don't do it just for the sake of doing it.
No, it is very closely regulated by veterinarians. There are all kinds of regulations as far as administration amounts and withdrawal times. And so we're treating them when they're sick. We're vaccinating them to prevent certain illnesses. In cattle, there's a number of them that they have to treat for, or there could be serious problems.
Just so it's safe for us, yeah.
But there's a withdrawal time. By the time that meat gets to market, there is no trace of these antibiotics left.
Yeah, you talk about all those questions that people have, but what about the most common misconceptions? Because, you know, people may say, well, I don't like this about, you know,
or that your farm is a big farm, right? 1,200 acres, is that what I read?
Yes.
But it's not a corporate farm.
No, no. Actually, our farm is probably about an average size farm. There are many of them that are much larger. Now, our farm with my husband and myself is not incorporated. However, my farm that my family owns is incorporated. It is a large farm, but it's a family farm. My folks' farm was started back in 1895 by my great-grandfather and his brother.
Are they also in Nebraska?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We live down about 40 miles south of Lincoln, and it was passed from my great-grandfather to his son, my grandpa, and to my dad, and now the children are all involved. My sister is the office manager and actually becoming CEO of the farm.
Wow.
My brother and I are involved.
Now that it's spring, and of course the weather has played a big role for all of the farms in Nebraska, what about yours and what you're doing this spring? What are you planting now? What's starting to come out of the ground?
Have you gotten everything in? We've
No.
got some rains.
No.
Right.
We're close. We have all of our corn in. We're almost done with our beans, but the rain did hold us up on that. So with it being towards the end of May, we're running a little bit late. It's not terrible yet for the beans. If it was for the corn, it would be seriously late. But things are starting to come up. They're looking pretty good. We're still waiting for some of them to emerge because we just got them in before the rain. Yeah. But it's not doing too badly.
Yeah.
Well, Lord, the drought last year and now all this.
Well, last year, if you remember, it was in our area, it was very wet up until about the 1st of June, and we didn't have a drop after that.
Right.
Yeah,
so it started out wet.
Yeah.
But then it got really dry.
We talked about a lot of stuff, but you guys have a resource. Common Ground has a resource, a website that you can go to. People can find out about corporate farms, family farms, anything about answers to your food questions.
Answers to the food questions, anything, and all of the information on that website is approved by FDA, FDA and the USDA. They have to go through every detail to make sure the accuracy is there. My family's farm is incorporated, but that's simply for tax purposes. It is wholly owned by the family, so there are things there that you have to look at that can differentiate one from another, but doesn't necessarily make them a different farm.
So what do you do as a volunteer with Common Ground? We were looking at a picture earlier from, I believe, a grocery store. So what, I guess, where do you meet people? Is it just at stores? Is it at events?
It's at events. We've gone to grocery stores. We've done health fairs. I've done 3 of them at different Hy-Vees here in town. We went to the health fair that was in Ralston about a month ago. We would love to speak to women's groups. PTAs, garden clubs, whatever, any place where anybody has an interest. If there's a group of people that want us to come in and talk, we'd be glad to do it.
And I like that it's women speaking to women. in a lot of these cases because we're the ones going to the store and buying the goods and asking the questions, and that you're a female farmer answering those questions.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you were talking about some of the questions that people have. I got a question.
All right.
Pigs. Are pigs really clean? Because, you know, you see them rolling around the mud, but people say they're the cleanest
delicious.
animals.
They are. The reason why they roll around in the mud is when you say that you're sweating like a pig, that is so wrong because pigs don't have sweat glands. And they have to roll around in the mud to protect themselves from the heat and the sun. Because their skin is very similar to ours. Pig skin is used to treat burn patients. And it will sunburn just like ours will. It will tan. But since they can't sweat, they have to be able to cool their bodies in another way.
And that's how they do it.
And that's how they do it, is by rolling around in the mud. Or if we keep them in confinement, they have to be kept cool.
Yeah.
And that way we can control the sun, the temperature, the humidity, the airflow.
It's fascinating.
I'm glad I asked.
That's part of
The
part of why
website.
we keep them in confinement.
Find our commonground.com if you'd like to learn a whole lot more. Thank you for making the trip in to see us today, Leslie.
Glad to do it.
Thanks,
Thank
Leslie.
you.
Good to see you. All right, coming up, our Metro Magazine Weekly Insider and the local organization creating opportunities for people.